We saw everyone's building very purpose-built machines, right? Like we were talking about during the presentation, which is that there's a typical generalization or a categorization into sports, street, ADVs, cruisers, right? But what we saw is that a lot of these ideas are generally based on what the Japanese or the European companies are doing, and but in India the context is a little different. We own one motorcycle and we try to use it for a lot of things, and we prefer that, right? There's no space for parking multiple vehicles. Owning and maintaining multiple vehicles is a hassle, and so everyone's just looking for one solution that fits a lot of their requirements. And so that way we were looking at something that is predominantly urban and comfortable to use 5 days a week, 70% of the time, and 30% for a more soft trails and things like that. So that is where the ideas for a crossover started to come in, and that's where this X47 as a idea, as a concept, started to take place, and today has resulted in this motorcycle. We had F77s. I think you should meet some of the owners over here who have covered like 85,000 kilometers in 15 months. So while people say electric touring is not possible or is difficult, I mean there are clearly people who have made it possible, and it's not just one person, right? We have several owners of motorcycles who have covered about 50,000 kilometers in a single year, and that's pretty crazy, right? 50,000 kilometers is incredibly hard to do, and despite whatever is said about the charging network, availability of energy, it's still very much possible. What we wanted to do is accelerate that further. And on that front is where the integration of the onboard charger came in. And we wanted to pack in something very, very powerful right underneath the seat. And that's what we've done with our in-house technology on the charging side.
So will I be able to ride it in Gurgaon and the waterlogged streets as well?
Definitely. I think waterlogged streets, we've seen it in every city. I mean, as it's part of the standard use case in India when you're dealing with monsoons, even Mumbai and Bangalore for that matter. So you can easily cover all of that. The idea of going after a particular narrowly defined segment, that itself was a little different for us, because what we're trying to do is something very fresh and innovative on the technology side. Why are we, driven by or restricted to particular labels? So that was one of the reasons why we called it a crossover, to make it very evident, right, that we are in multiple ways trying to crossover from an ICE to an EV, from sports, street, starting to get into more weekend riding and soft terrain, right? So we wanted that crossover. So it means a lot of things for us. It's not just about a segment, but it's something about the mentality and what we're trying to solve differently.
Do you think having an electric crossover like this, it's going to need a lifestyle change for riders? Because with petrol stations, there are a lot of them. For EVs, not so much.
See, I think what we have solved is already on the urban riding. We have a range of, with over 200 and 300 plus kilometers IDC. You don't really need to even charge more than once a week, right? We've already solved that. We've seen that across thousands of F77 owners, and we will continue to see that here. What we really had to solve for was the intercity driving, right? And that is what we've gone for with the onboard charging, with the UV link support for car chargers, with the Type 6 charging on the support on the vehicle, and the onboard charger. All you need to do is carry a cable, and you can plug it into any 15 amp socket. And I think, despite what general perception is that touring is difficult, I think it's not really uniquely true for people who have owned EVs. And we've started to see this change also in cars, right? And now it's only a matter of time for motorcycles, and we're at the forefront of that.
It's got ADAS. A lot of cars under 10 lakhs don't have it. And it's got cameras up front and rear both. So do you think, because it's a motorcycle and it's prone to falling, how strong do you think these cameras and sensors are in case of a fall or something like that?
Yeah. So it is built to be protected in various senses. I think if you see even the body of the camera, right? So that's a Sony IMX camera in a metal body. It is not meant to, be, just, fragile in that sense. So it's meant to take a beating. And all of the elements of the motorcycle are built that way. So we don't see that as a constraint. And another thing, it's not just stuck on with some, double-side tape as most companies do. It is well integrated into the design of the vehicle. So it's well protected as a package, both on the front and on the rear, as well as the radar unit in itself, right? So, and I think the idea here is to make it very accessible. So, and it had to be well integrated for us to do that. And you're right about the price points, which is that it's incredibly hard to be able to provide this on a accessible motorcycle at a sub 3 lakh price point. But we've managed to do it. It's been a 2.5, 3 year effort and endeavor, but it's finally here for us today.